When I walked out onto the porch that morning, coffee in one hand, sunlight flickering off the lake, it felt like I'd finally made one good decision in my life. You know what I mean? Years ago, I was buried alive in a cubicle, pushing drawings for office towers I'd never step inside, listening to people debate things like activated workflow nodes like it meant anything. I'd go home sore from sitting, if you can believe it. But now, 45 acres of Colorado wild, a mile and a world away from Timberlake Haven's manicured lawns and their parade of beige SUVs. I bought this land to build something real with my own hands, to raise my boys under a sky big enough for dreams, and never once have to ask what color my mailbox should be. So I did it. The house, the dock, the gazebo, every single nail and plank has my sweat in it. This place isn't just home. It's proof I broke out. That morning was extra special. My oldest, Logan, turned 8. All he wanted was a treasure hunt, a bunch of his buddies, burgers on the grill, balloons tangled in the trees, and the kind of day that ends in sticky hands and grass stains. Emily, my wife, strung red and blue balloons between the pines. Neighbors showed up with their kids, and by noon, the lake echoed with shrieks, Nerf darts, and half a dozen tiny pirates fighting over cupcakes. It was one of those Colorado September days that tricks you into thinking winter might forget about you. I just flipped the second batch of burgers when I noticed her, striding down the slope in a navy blazer, tablet under one arm, walking like she owned the mountain. She didn't wave, didn't smile, just marched into the clearing, stepping around picnic blankets like they might stain her shoes. "Excuse me," she called, slicing through the birthday music. "Who's the property owner here?" I already knew this wasn't a friendly visit, but I set the spatula down and stepped up. "That'd be me. Can I help you?" She smiled like a dentist before the drill. "Karen Beckley, president of the Timberlake Haven HOA. I need you to cease this unauthorized gathering immediately." I actually laughed. "This is my son's birthday." She didn't budge. "This area is within the community's protected visual corridor. Lakeside gatherings require environmental review." She flipped her tablet to show a blurry satellite map, as if that would do it. I pointed to the sign, "Private property. No trespassing." "Always been that way." She rattled off code numbers, gestured at my grill, even mentioned unpermitted open flame devices. Emily appeared at my side, voice steady as a metronome. "You're trespassing. You're making the children uncomfortable." Then Karen started panning her camera over the kids. That's when I stepped in front of her phone. "You don't get to photograph my guests." She acted like I'd failed some test. "All unauthorized events must be documented. This will be filed with the Enforcement Committee. You don't have jurisdiction here." I told her, not shouting, but close. "You violated 3 sections of our visual ordinance," she said, all smug. "The sheriff has been notified." Everyone froze. Logan looked at me, big-eyed, wondering if this was part of the pirate adventure. "Well," I said, "guess we'll wait for the sheriff." Karen spun on her heel, heading back up the hill like she'd just delivered the Queen's orders. The party atmosphere, well, it took a hit, but I picked up the spatula and kept flipping burgers. Sometimes you've got to stare down the storm. 15 minutes later, a cruiser came down the gravel drive, 2 deputies stepping out. Karen, who'd circled back, met them with the energy of a snitch. "Officers, you need to document everything." The older deputy, face carved by the sun, turned to me. "You the property owner?" I handed him a folder. Deed, county survey, drone shots, everything lined up like dominoes. "Want the parcel ID too?" He leafed through it, chuckled. "Not necessary, Mr. Henley. Everything checks out." Karen's face twitched, but he turned to her. "Ma'am, this is private land, not under HOA jurisdiction. He's within his rights." She argued visual environment, and he just shook his head. "That's not how property law works. And false reports could get you cited." She left in a huff, heels crackling over gravel. As the deputies drove off, the party crept back to life. Emily handed me a burger and shot me that look, the one that says, "This is far from over." And I knew she was right. That night, after everyone left, I walked the perimeter with a flashlight, checking signs and finding fresh boot prints in the grass behind Timberlake Haven. She hadn't come down the road. She'd snuck through the trees, like a raccoon with a clipboard. The next morning, I put up a trail cam aimed at the ridge. If Karen wanted a show, she'd get one, in 4K. 3 days later, A gold-lettered folder showed up at my door. Timberlake Haven, a harmonious community. Inside, a 3-page letter from Karen and her board accused me of visual burden, noise contamination, and non-consensual landscape disruption. They wanted me to stop using the lake, pull out the dock, and submit all activities to their environmental committee for approval. I laughed, tossed it on the table, and muttered, "Cult behavior, less fashion sense." But the real escalation hit when Karen posted a photo of me grilling at Logan's party in the community Facebook group, captioned, "When one neighbor ignores community standards, we all suffer." The comments rolled in. Is that dock even legal? Who let strangers near a watershed? Pam with the sunflower avatar wondered if I was spreading giardia. Yeah, that happened. A couple days later, I found a flyer under my windshield. Do you know who's using your view? Unauthorized gatherings, fire hazards, unknown guests. Say no to reckless property abuse. That's when I realized Karen was playing long game HOA warfare. If she couldn't win in court, she'd try to make my life miserable through gossip and confusion. So I started collecting evidence. Screenshots, letters, photos of every official sign they tried to post on my side of the fence. I made a video explaining the boundary, drone images and all, and stored everything in a digital vault. Good thing, too, because a week later, I found a new path, mulched, lined with garden trim, cut through the trees from Timberlake's trail straight to my gazebo. At the end, 3 cedar benches branded with their logo and a yoga platform, complete with foam mats and a laminated schedule for wellness network activities. A QR code led to a website advertising lakeside yoga and sunset meditation on my property without so much as a knock on the door. I called the county, sent the photos, GPS overlays, everything. Danielle at the recorder's office called back. Mr. Henley, there's no easement, no shared access, nothing. If they're advertising access and charging money, that's real estate fraud. Julio from the land office came out with his GPS stick, walked the lines, and just shook his head. Somebody's about to have a very interesting week. But I should have seen the next one coming. Saturday, Curtis, my neighbor, called. Did you rent your lake? There's 20 people down here, yoga mats, the works. I bolted home and found a crowd on the shore. Music, kids, parents, even Karen with a clipboard, soaking up applause. Then it happened. A toddler, maybe 4, tumbled off the platform into the lake. For a second, time just stopped. Then screams. I hit the dock and dove, pulling him out as his mother reached us. The deputies arrived with the ambulance. The kid would be okay, barely. But now it wasn't just trespass. It was a near tragedy. The same deputies as before started taking statements. Karen fumbled for words. I assumed this was community space. I thought the board. The deputy cut her off. Did you have permission? Insurance? A permit? Parents turned on her. She said it was HOA sanctioned, one said. We paid a donation online. The deputy looked at me. Do you have proof this is private land? I showed him the trail cam footage. Karen leading the group in, signs waving in the wind. We're forwarding this to the DA, he said. Criminal trespass. Reckless endangerment. Fraud. Court came fast. Karen looked like someone standing in a burning house, pretending it's fine. On her side, a nervous lawyer. On the other, the boy's parents and their attorney, ready for blood. Me? Calm. A folder thick with evidence on my lap. The judge didn't buy Karen's story for a second. We're not just talking trespass, the prosecutor said. This was organized, monetized, unpermitted, and a child almost drowned. Every bit of evidence, letters, screenshots, maps, QR codes, even bank statements showing donations funneled to Karen B. Wellness Access, hit the table. When the mother took the stand, her voice didn't shake. She said it was safe. She said it was community land. I wouldn't have let my son near that water otherwise. Then I took my turn, told how the campaign started, a slow push to claim my land, first in conversation, then in Facebook posts, then by showing up with benches and yoga decks. Bureaucratic bullying at its finest. The judge, stone-faced, ruled for me on every count. Karen was personally liable for trespass, harassment, and fraud. The HOA was on the hook for over $300,000 in damages. The boy's family got $600,000. Then came the kicker, a restraining order for Karen and a formal letter to every HOA member, setting the record straight. As I left, the deputy called me. She's off the board. Whole place is melting down. Someone's planning a recall. I looked at the lake, wind flickering over the water. About damn time, I said. A year later, Logan turned 9. We threw the biggest party yet. Neighbors, deputies, friends, even Curtis with his famous brisket. This time, I posted a new sign by the dock. Family, respect, private property. Not for Karen. People laughed, toasted, and Logan ran wild, planning a treehouse of his own. The sunset painted the water gold. For the first time in a long time, I felt peace. They tried to take this from me, twist it into something it wasn't. But the land held its ground, and so did I. So what would you have done? Ever been on the wrong side of a rule book, or the right side of a property line? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear where you stand on HOA power, land rights, and how far you'd go to defend what's yours.